Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Mel Sanders and Friends. Today is February 17th, 2022. My, this year is moving on. We're glad that you joined us today. We're joined today by two of our co-hosts. Mr. Cato's in the studio with us, and Miss Paula Massey is on Zoom with us, so we're happy to have him here. Today we have an interesting show. We're going to be talking about some things that, some refresher things and some things that are happening that are new and unique, particularly in South Valley. And then we may have some other comments, too, about things that are happening around here that we've been kind of talking about and hearing things about and not sure about. But between the three of us, we'll come up with some rationale of some answers of where we go from here. How are you today, Mr. Cato?
You know, I'm just blessed to be seen.
Ooh, okay. Well,
yes. I appreciate that. Where's my $5?
Okay.
See?
Well,
See?
we'll just leave you in the corner, and we'll get to some important things. I know in South Valley, they got a bunch of important things that are going on down there.
But besides that, I do have a serious commentary. Yeah, there you go. That's the big word.
Is that the word?
That must be. Well, I use it.
Just go ahead.
We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. Let's get the show
get
started.
Get the good stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, because I'm not gonna forget this. So you might as well just go ahead with what you got to do.
Well, we would like to hear from Miss Paula Massey. I understand there's some new and exciting things going on in South Valley.
Paula Massey.
And guess who's in the middle of all of it? Well, we already know. The go-to person in South Valley. Miss Paula Massey, glad that you're here. Would you share with us some of the things that have been going on here in the last 3 weeks, particularly in the Hanford area?
3 weeks. Let's take it back a couple of months. But I want to thank you for having me
here today. Has it been that long?
And yes, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Wait a minute. Wait. Has it been that long? You've been working on this that long?
Yes. I was approached in November.
Wow, time flies.
Okay, so can I just start from the beginning?
Yeah, please do that. Yeah, I'm thinking.
I was at a city council meeting, and a meeting that I really, I was asked to go, and I came. So on my way out the door, down the steps, a gentleman called my name and says,
I think she froze on us there. Give us a minute. We'll be right back with Ms. Massey. We have a little technical difficulties, but we're going to be okay. Unless Mr. Cato wants to do his part now. No, you're going to wait.
No, I'm just going to wait. I am just going to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to work up to it.
You know, one of the things, though, that I want to see if we can have some conversation about is the Fresno Unified School Board rearranging their board meetings. I found that to be very interesting. The part that I did hear, I was listening to another radio station a couple days ago, and they were talking about the changes that were going to be made, and got some interesting thoughts about that, because it seems to me that, maybe that's not the right move to make. But, that they're within the law. I can say that. They're within the law, but does it make sense to the general public? And just to maybe clue you in while we're waiting here, they rearranged their board agendas. Normally, when you go to a public meeting, they'll allow for some public comment prior to them getting into the business of the agenda. And an individual can come up, and there's a specific time limit on how long they can talk. And apparently, Fresno Unified has had some heated meetings where public participation has been very, very strong. So in order to make sure they had some control of the meetings, they rearranged how they would conduct them. I understand there's a gentleman that's on the board that has been giving them the blues from the Bullitt area. Terry Slavic, I can't pronounce his last name, but he's a representative from the Bullitt area. And he's been, making them, starting a lot of things that are going on out there that are making them kind of uncomfortable. And so what they did was they changed their, they rearranged their agenda to have the public comment section at the end of the meeting. Now, what do you think that does to people who come there? The meeting may start at 6 or 5:30. What do you think that may do to a meeting that has that kind of a?
Well, it depends. If it's at the end, say if it starts at 5 o'clock, city council meeting might last a good 2 hours. So you're at the end. Now the only thing
Now,
is
these are Fresno Unified Board
Had
meeting.
wonderful people with me, Carolyn, with Women with Visions Unlimited. So it wasn't just Paula, it was Women with Visions Unlimited. Yes.
Okay, well, you're back. We're glad you're back. You talked for a minute or two there, and we didn't hear what you said. You want to go back and regurgitate that one more time?
What did you not hear?
We heard that you went to a city council meeting, and someone approached you.
Oh, you give us all of that, so I was just running my mouth and nothing.
you were getting ready. You're
Yeah,
practicing.
good exercise.
Yeah. Practicing.
Stop.
It's all right. You can do it. You can do
I
it.
was approached by Jack Swartz, and he is the CEO of he's the president of the Carnegie Museum. It is under new leadership. He asked me would I curate the museum for the Black history of Kings County, and I said yes. And so,
what does that
I
entail?
reached out to our seniors. I reached out to a few people. Then I reached out to the seniors, and they come on board like nobody's business. And when you come to this museum, when you walk in, you're going to see a lot of the people, the names of the people who have contributed to this museum. And then when you first walk in, you're going to see something called the camps, that a lot of our people came from Idabel, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Chicago, and those states around there. And you can see where they migrated from to where they are now and where they came to. So they were like in these labor camps. They came to these labor camps, and some of the people who owned the labor camps went out to Idabel, Oklahoma, and different areas and recruited them. Now, one thing I know, I found out years ago that a lot of people in Hamper, black people in Hamper, are related to each other. And I see now why they're related to each other.
Why?
Because a lot of those people from Idabel, Oklahoma were relatives. And so when they came, there were other people here that were living on the camps that their boss said, okay, I want you to be in charge of going back and getting some more people. So these people went back to Idabel and they recruited their family members. So we have people like the Tommy Smith family, Tommy Smith and his family. They came. We have a lot of a lot of people that came, and so when they came, they lived on these camps. Some of them immediately saved their money and bought homes. Some of them bought land. So a lot of the land in our what we call the Island District in Lemoore is still owned by these families. So and a lot of them when they you'll see in the museum as you make your way around of a lot of the businesses that were started by a lot of these black people, shoe shine shops, taxi cabs. We even had a black-owned, what do we call it, a refuge place, a garbage disposal. They would go around and pick up your garbage and stuff. But some kind of way, county and city got involved in that, and that company no more was around.
So let me ask you this. About what time frame was this? The early 20s, the 30s? The
early 30s.
Early
30s on. 30s,
Okay.
40s, yeah. That's when they came over, yeah.
And it was interesting, you said something earlier about family members going back to recruit other family members to come out to, I assume they promised them jobs and a place to stay.
Yes, they lived on the camps. They lived in houses. Some of them lived in actual tents. And Elder Thomas, his daughter, Cheryl, she gave us a really nice write-up about Gus Irons' camp. Gus Irons was one of the ones that went out to Idabel, Oklahoma to recruit a lot of people. So yeah, she gave a really good description of what the camps were looking like, and because she grew up on the camps, but they only stayed there a year before they built them, before they bought their homes. Yeah. And so when you go to the museum, you're going to see all of that. Yeah. And so it was, and they came because of, my friend Carolyn kept saying, oh, it's the Dust Bowl, the Dust Bowl. So I looked up the Dust Bowl and I'm like, I don't know. But then there was a family. There were families that came over during the Dust Bowl because there was no work there.
Black
You
families?
know,
Were they?
black families.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. So that there was no promise of as they used to say, well, you go to California. They say money grows on trees. Did you ever?
California, this
Yeah.
area that during this time was very uh, uh,
Agricultural.
agricultural. They had a lot of land there that where they could grow stuff and crops and different things. And a lot of these people were already working in the fields where they were. So when they came here, they already had the skills. Nobody had to teach them.
Mm.
They've already had the skills to do. And when they moved off the camps, they began starting their businesses. So it's a good thing. And I got to know a lot of the families and a lot of the blacks first.
Mm-hmm.
Like our first sheriff, Chris Jordan, he was the first black sheriff, the
Mm-hmm.
only black sheriff in town. Hopefully we'll have some more. And our black city council women, which was Catherine Willis. She was our first black city councilwoman.
Was she elected or was she appointed?
She was appointed. She was
Okay.
appointed. Somebody retired, and she went to run for office the following year, but she didn't make it because she became commissioner on our recreation board, which she did a very, very good job with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our school board members, those black people who were school board members, and even today, our school board members who are black.
Mm-hmm.
And then we even had those people who own businesses, like I said, businesses and a lot of things. We had a gentleman, his name was Alex Gaffney, Alex King Gaffney. And he was very instrumental in starting our community action organization. You hear a lot of his name among the black people who he really, really helped and got jobs. Black people, Mexican people, all people he reached out to. He didn't care who you were. But, he really reached out to our black people, make sure that they were able to get jobs, well-paying jobs. And it was really, really good.
So was that?
It's a great sight to see. Not only black people are visiting, we're having Mexican people visiting. We have a lot of white people who heard about the camps, but didn't know what the camps were. Now they know. And we have pictures of the camps, actual pictures of the camps.
How about some of the businesses? There was a famous street down there, wasn't it? That black folks were.
Brown Street.
Yeah, that's the name of it.
Brown
Yeah.
Street. And I always think about the movie, if Beale Street could talk, I always say if Brown Street could talk. Because in going into our history and going into the newspaper articles, there's a lot of articles on Brown Street, some good, bad, and ugly, but I want to put the positive. And there was a family called the Mentor family. And there's a lot of other families that had cafes, they had juke joints, they had just a lot of businesses there. And that was the place where after you stopped working in the fields or whatever you were working at, and on a Friday, Saturday night, you would go there and you would have your time to, meet a girl, meet a guy, you dress up in your best. But believe you me, the story of Bliss, you go to Brown Street all you want to, but you better be in church on Sunday morning. And that's what was happening there.
So
we
what?
also have a video with this lady. What is her name? The daughter of this lady. Her name is Marjorie Wilcox, and her mother and her daughter, Carolyn, videotaped them a few years ago. And so we have that video playing, and then we have people in Stratford who are working in the fields, and they're living in Stratford now. They talked about where the camps were. Judy Winston, who's no longer with us, we miss her so much. She took Carolyn on a tour of where the camps used to be because she used to live at the camps when she was younger. Yeah.
Very interesting. So, are there stories about the reason why those black businesses prospered is because black people couldn't go to the normal downtown, if you will, and shop, that they had to in their own neighborhoods?
You could not go past Florinda. Florinda is a street, and it's still here. You couldn't go past Florinda.
What do you mean?
I heard that you couldn't go past another certain street in Hanford. But those businesses strive because that's where black people had. Miss Mentor over on 10th Avenue and 2nd, going into this place called Home Garden, there is a convenience store there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's owned by, the guy looks Indian, it looked like he owned some Mexicans or whatever it was. But she owned that store.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing about it is that we had stores and we had places. Bishop Cotton, Elder Cotton, he owned a place on Hanford Amona Road and Irwin Street where there's a Mexican restaurant now.
What do they call that?
He owned a restaurant and a laundromat. So we had places to go to on our side of town.
Yeah.
When they built the freeway,
right down
that cut us off.
all over the country.
Kind of shut down because people couldn't get from where they were going straight to Brown Street. They cut off Brown Street. And, and that happened in a lot of cities.
That's what I was going to say. Isn't it ironic?
Isn't
it ironic that all over the country those kinds of things happen where they built freeways or railroads right down the middle of the African American community and destroyed the productivity of people who were in business? I don't think that was an accident. I think that happened. I know in Fresno we had the same thing. D Street used to be the street that housed a lot of the African American businesses. And when the freeway came through, away went D Street and all the businesses that were around it.
And it did cut off because, like I said, where I live on the south side of the freeway, southeast side of the freeway. And to get out of where I live, I have to go Hanford Amona Road to 12th Avenue to go to the mall, or go through my town and get on 3rd Street, which runs right parallel to the freeway, to go to Dowdy to get downtown, or cross over and go 4th, which is a one-way street, to get to 11th Avenue. So there's only certain ways, even to 10th Avenue, there's only certain ways that we can leave out of this south side, east side, southeast Hanford to get to where we want to go.
Yeah. So that's something that happened all over. It just, you hear story after story after story of how the African American community was isolated, and then particularly those successful businesses were basically interrupted or destroyed when they did that. And the Oklahoma, there was a few months ago when we talked about the Oklahoma, I forget what it was.
Wall Street.
Yeah, Black Wall Street, and how that was, how they did that by bringing in the freeway and breaking up the city like that. But I think we really go ahead. You got some more things to share, because that's exciting to have a museum for the first time, a focus on the African American community.
And I like how they named it a salute to the Black history of Kings County.
Oh, wow.
I really love how they...
You mean you didn't come up with that name?
It's so beautiful outside the museum.
You didn't come up with that name?
No, we agreed to it. We were sitting around. Me, Carolyn, and Jack was sitting around. We were trying to come up with a name.
Oh.
And he said, what about a salute to the Black history of Kings County? I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a collaboration. They're letting us use the building. They asked us to curate they asked Women with Visions Unlimited to curate the museum. And,
Good.
So, because if we didn't have that museum, I don't know where we would have had it. Or if it would have even taken place.
So is in terms of participation from the African American community, has there been an uptick in that?
Yeah, we do. And I'm constantly posting on Facebook, and I posted the article that was in the newspaper. We were on the front page.
Oh, really?
Of the music. Oh, man. So the whole front page, I think there's one little spot here that doesn't refer to us. And I think it all the way goes to the back of the page, too.
Oh, wow.
The back page. So we're in the back page and all. Yes.
So that's
a large article.
That's the Hanford Sentinel.
Hanford Museum's honors Black history, and then it also says Paula Massey has organized Black History Month exhibit.
Oh, wow.
So my picture's all over it up in there, Hey, cute.
Well, Well, that's understandable that they would put you all over the paper like that. But you do the work. I mean, in all seriousness, the work that needs to be done is a. I don't think it was an easy task. I think it called for some intense labor and
It was,
collaboration.
I did a lot of the research and printing and putting the boards together, but it was Carolyn Hudgens and Doris Bradshaw. She was one that gave us a lot of information, and she wanted to help.
Mm.
And she is wonderful at staging. Oh
Mm.
my gosh, she is so good at staging. So I was glad to have her on board with us. So I didn't have to do a lot of climbing and putting things up and lifting things. They did it, because right now that's not good for me to do a lot of that lifting. So they really came together.
So how long is it going to be open? How long is this going to the event going to be going forward?
April 24th. It's on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays
Weekends. What
from
time?
1 to 5.
Okay.
And then if people want to do a special tour, they can contact me by Facebook. They could message me on Facebook, because we have 2 schools that are showing up. We have a school coming from Parlier.
Oh, really?
They're kindergarten. They're lower elementary. I won't say kindergarten. I'm not sure what grade they're in.
Wow.
But they're bringing their kids, and the student teachers will come together with their students. And then we have John F. Kennedy Junior High School. They're supposed to be coming and bringing some students. That's here in Hanford. And they're bringing some students. So we're wanting people to bring their students. The first night, people were saying, I'm bringing my mom. My mom is from corporate, and she probably knows these people. And you know what? I found out that there was a family here that she didn't know that she was a relative to some people here. And then when she saw that they were from Oklahoma and began reading the information, because there's a few families that gave me a lot of information and stories, so I made books for them with the cover, and they could open it up, and I highlighted some things. So when this is all over with, those books belong to them. I'm not keeping those books, okay? They're books, because I have the pictures and stuff like that. I'll have all that stuff in my archives, but because some of them are actual pictures that they gave. So I want to be able to present. Some of them are just copies, that they gave. So we'll be able to put all that together.
So what do you see as a future for this kind of event? Is this something that can be done annually, or maybe twice a year, or what do you see?
Well, I see this could be something every year. It could be something every year. And I like to expand it more to, more, because when you do this, you do a whole lot. And you don't want to repeat the same stuff. You want to have some of the same things, but you want to expand on some of the things that you're expanding on. I would love to do something that's dealing with our actually Black history of our inventors, and some of the things that that we as Black people have done in the United States, in different parts of the United States.
So this is going to conclude in when? Did you say March or April?
April 24th.
Okay, so there may be time, maybe not this year, to maybe do an expansion like that to add on to the county history of the African American community, and then some of the highlights of African American contributions throughout. Anybody in the Kings County area connected to any inventions? I know you have athletes, and there's a bunch of those. You didn't mention any of those. You must not be an athletic fan.
Oh, we have a lot of athletes here, and one in particular, his name is Hank Herring. He was in the military, and he went to the Olympics in London in 1948. He won the silver medal for boxing.
Oh, wow. He finished second.
Also, he was a boxer for the United States Navy.
Okay.
So I was able to reach out to his family and get pictures, and then go online and find stuff. He's also in the Boxing Hall of Fame in San Diego, the Navy Hall of Fame in San Diego. I was able to get a lot of information about him, because even though he wasn't from this area, he lived in this area. He retired in this area. He raised his family in this area. So his family is from from Lemoore.
Oh, great.
And so I thought, we have Tommy Smith there, but we also have Mr. Hank Herring. And we have another young lady, her name was Reid Bradshaw, which is Doris's sister. She went to the Pan American Games. She was one of the top athletes here in Kings County, and she was a shot putter.
Oh, really?
So she went to the Pan American. She didn't make it to the Olympics, but she went to the Pan American Games. So we have things. We had a women's softball team. We had the ledger, the games that they played, and articles about when they beat Lindsay. And we have a list of all the names of the women that were on the team. We have pictures of them. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, and I just believe that it's probably going to grow as the word spreads throughout Kings County, and you know how people are. Well, why didn't you talk to me? Well, I would have been glad to contribute, but I didn't know. So I expect you're going to be getting some of that. And one thing I haven't seen is anything on the local media, and Channel 30, 24, 47, and all of those folks that do public service announcements and news story, highlight news story, especially in Black History Month. It would seem that they would have been there to highlight this first event.
You would have thought, and I did a public service announcement or something like that, and they said that they had sent it out to the newspapers, not the newspapers, but the television stations, and I didn't want to jump the gun if they had already done it, but I haven't seen anything.
Neither have I.
There I go.
Well, it's not too late.
Jump the gun and do it.
Yeah, it's not too late. If you're going to the April 24th, it would be great to have this as part of the history of Kings County. So I'm excited to hear this happening, and I can see. I'm a dreamer, so I can see this happening again on a larger scale in future years.
Yeah, it has to be a larger scale. More money is going to be needed. Grants are going to have to be written to do this. So it won't be such a hard task. And I'll tell you a little story. I'm going to tell you this one story, then we can move on if you want to. There's a gentleman, Mr. Welcher, Lloyd Welcher, and I have a picture in there of him and his wife. He had a lot of businesses, and it showed that he had he worked at a parking garage. He worked at a automotive place in Hanford, and it's right downtown, not too far from where the museum is, and not too far from where our old old courthouse is. So I was trying to find out more about him, and I found out that there was another gentleman, a white gentleman, that owned the automotive shop where Mr. Welcher worked, and it was a parking garage. But Mr. Welcher and this white gentleman were partners together. And I asked this guy, he owns the Fox Theater, him and his dad passed on, so he's taken over the Fox Theater, and I talked to him, and his mom was there and said, well, Mr. Welcher was part owner in that garage, but it could never be said that he was part owner, because it would have been bad business for this white man to have a part owner with a black man.
But he did he get his fair portion of the money?
I don't know how to reach any of his family members, but that story really kind of like, Yeah, and then, Miss Eva Boyd from Elder Cotton's Church, she gave a lot of stuff. And the black people that were in the parade, that were grand marshals, that were king and queen, oh, I couldn't believe that. I'm like, where was I when all this was happening? And my question is now, what's wrong with us? If our people came from Idabel, Oklahoma, Ernie Smith tells a story, they came with just the clothes on their back. And when their mom got flour sacks and stuff and fabric, and that's how she made their clothes, but they came with the clothes on their back. But they had all this land and all this property that they owned. And here we are as black people with education. A lot of them didn't even have the education that we have now. And it seemed like we can't get it done. And I think what happened was they worked together. They had no other choice but to come together. The kids played in the dirt and everything, played in the ditches and stuff. They all had, and they talk about the fun that they had on the camps. And the families worked together because families were families. These people are still families. So my whole thing is, what's wrong with us? Why could they come together and we can't come together as a Black community?
So how
We build businesses, and we have a lot of people who have businesses here, small businesses, but we need to come together as an incubator and work together and build our businesses up so we can have our Black community could kind of buy Black, and that's what we need to do in order to build. Yeah.
So where were the religious leaders during that time?
Well, we have three churches that we're showcasing, and the first one was Howard Chapel AME Zion Church. Okay, and Howard Chapel was the first. Is the historically Black church in this Kings County. They were here before Hanford got its name.
Oh, wow.
They're here before Hanford even got the name of Hanford. And so they were here, and then Second Baptist was here, and then Elder Cotton came from Tulare and bought the Pentecostal church here. Now, I just found out the other day at the day before the soft opening that there was another church, Folsom Temple, and that's right around the corner from me. And I reached out to them, but I didn't get any information. But I understand that the building's still there, but there's a Mexican church that is in that building, but it still has to be named Folsom Temple because they have the rights to that land and that name or whatever. So they were a Church of God in Christ. So they were there too. So what happened was and I always ask the question, if you guys were all family, what happened? Why are y'all so separate? And
what'd they tell you?
tell me, go ahead.
I'd like to know, what did they tell you when they splintered? You're talking about these are people that were connected to the church.
These are the people. So when they started doing the church, some families went to Howard Chapel, Zion. Some went to Second Baptist. A few went over to Folsom Temple, and the rest went to Elder Cotton. So I said, I'm going to this Pentecostal church. I'm going to stay here at AME Zion. I'm going over here to the Baptist church. So you had husbands and wives. You had husbands going over to Second Baptist and wives going over to Howard Chapel. So the families were coming together, but they were split up as far as their religious preferences were concerned. And that's what split up a lot of the people in the community, the churches.
But were there any names in particular, minister names in particular, that were an intricate part of the leadership of that day in terms of helping to meet the challenges of maybe some kids that were sick or couldn't get in school or had some issues downtown? Or traditionally, there's been the Black preacher that has been able to bridge that gap. Is that true in the case of Kings County? Were there any ministers that stood out?
I'm pretty sure they may have been back then, but I'm almost, Elder Cotton, he was well known in the community. He was well known, and he did a lot. A lot of people knew who he was. When they come to the museum, they remember who he was, and they talk about how wonderful person he was. But I don't know that they knew that they could get involved in politics or get involved in helping
social issues
groups. There were some people. Harold Reid, he started a group called Concerned Citizens, and we had a gentleman come down from Sacramento, and I'm trying to think of what his name was. And right now I can't recall his name. Booker.
That's his last name.
Booker Neal.
Yeah, okay.
Neal Booker.
Booker Neal. That's it. Booker Neal. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he came down because at the request of the grand jury, because there was a lot of police brutality going on among the Black people on the South Side with the police. So he came down. They sent him down to kind of figure out what was going on down here. So you had people in the community that would reach out. There was a lady named Miss Washington She was over at the Lakeside Elementary School and another school in Home Garden, and she tells a story because we honored her one year, and she tells a story that she told the people, "Don't you sign those papers until you bring those papers to me." She was a businesswoman, and so instead of the school would give the parents papers to sign and turn it back, and she said, "Don't you sign that until you let me look at it. Let me look at that paper before you sign it, so I could know what you're signing. You could know what you're signing."
What was
we
her?
had people in the community that stepped up to the plate. Yeah.
What was her occupation? Do you
She
know?
owned. I know that she owned a lot of adult group homes.
Okay. Okay.
When they closed Porterville State Hospital, there was a state hospital in Porterville, and they had to find a place for these mentally disabled adults to go to. Well, she bought property and she had homes, and she built a business out of that.
Oh, okay.
We had a lot of those physically and mentally disabled adults. Yeah.
So that must have been back in the 80s.
It was in the 80s. I got here in 83, so it was in the 80s, yeah. I remember when they closed down that facility, yeah.
Yeah, your good governor, Ronald Reagan, is the one that pushed that effort to close down the mental hospitals all over the state.
That was bad. And they were doing the job as long as they were not like Willowbrook State facility. If you ever go online, YouTube, look up Willowbrook State Hospital. As long as it wasn't running like that, it was fine. But Willowbrook was bad. And that was on Staten Island. My mother used to work there. And it was, you could see deplorable conditions. But, unless we as black people, even all people, register to vote and vote, just like what's getting ready to happen in our community now. We got a lot of things going on in our community. And I'm switching, and I know you probably got some things that you want to talk about.
No, you're segueing right into where we were going to go. So just continue on, and we'll follow you. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a lot of things. There was a meeting last night in Hanford. I think it was just a community meeting. It was at this civic auditorium, and I didn't know about it. And what we're trying to do, we have a group of people that are coming in, and they're building a 3-story facility for homelessness and low-income people, and it's on the north side of town. So there's a group of people, 1776 Liberty, Freedom people, and they come to all of our school board meetings, and now they came to this meeting, and they said their place, the Civic Auditorium, was packed. And they had to take a few people out because
Fire
what was
marshal.
happening. These people were so racist and so ugly toward the homeless. They said, where are they at right now? I got a call earlier this morning about this. Matter of fact, Horace Herring called me, and he was at the meeting. He was so hurt by what was being said that they don't want that facility on their side of town because it's going to bring their property value down, which it may. But I talked to Diane Sharp today, and I said, can you tell me a little bit about this facility? What is it going to provide? It's going to provide housing for those who need housing, low-income housing. It's going to provide a facility for the homeless if they want to be there. They're going to have mental health things, any type of thing that these people are needing is going to be there. And she's visited one of their facilities that they built. She says, Paul, you won't believe how beautiful this place is.
Where? Where is it? Where is
it? Excuse me, huh?
Where's the facility that was built?
I have, you know what? They're in different places. I know they have one in the one is called San Joaquin something. I can't remember. I just was looking at it earlier. I can't remember the name. I should have wrote down the names of these places. But I figured that it was going to be a beautiful facility. It's not going to be like what you have at the in Fresno Rescue Mission. What the Rescue Mission was, you come in there, you hear a Bible story, you eat at night, and then you go get your cot, but you got to be up at a certain time in the morning and get out, okay? Because you can't be there during the day. This is not going to be like this. This is a living facility for these people, and from what I'm understanding, it's going to be beautiful. But the community don't want it. But they did this a few years ago. One of our churches, local churches, Cordonia, they had land, and they were going to build a facility for people who were coming out of prison, in jail, they have mainly in prison, they have 1 year left. So they were going to build this facility where if you have 1 year left and you were going to be coming back to Kings County anyway, once you got parole here, they would have you come and be at that facility for 1 year. In that year, you would get your GED, you would learn a skill, you would get whatever you needed to be able to function as a citizen in our community. Well, the community didn't want it.
But aren't they on the south side, southwest side?
The southwest side, yes.
Right. Well, what was the problem there?
They just didn't want that facility there. They didn't want these prisoners to be released into this community. But guess what? They were released here anyway, without the help that they needed to be able to be productive citizens. Some of them came paroled, they came to homes and stuff where they could come. But if you don't know what to do, and you've been incarcerated for all these years, and now you've got to come out, things have changed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Things have changed, and you really don't know how to operate in the community that you're in. So this would be the perfect place for them to learn how to, and even coming back with their family, especially you've been gone 4 or 5 years, and your wife been holding down the fort with your 4 kids, and now you're going to get out and say, woman, hold up, woman. Because she's been running things, so you got to know how to go back into that family as a man and make everybody comfortable as you're coming back in the family. You can't go in there like you left, your chest all poked out like I'm it. No, you're not it. You've been gone.
Okay.
He's been it.
So at the meeting on last evening, what was the final outcome? What was the final? Was this just a town hall meeting, or was this a city council meeting, or what kind of meeting?
It was a meeting. The city council held it.
Okay.
It was a town hall meeting, and I didn't know anything about it. Diane Sharp, who is our mayor now, they really blasted her. They told her that she was ignorant, she was stupid, she was ugly. You don't know what you're talking about. We're going to recall you, all kind of things. And she already told me. She told me today. She says, "Paul, I have all this land behind my house. If they want to build that facility there, they could. I will welcome it because I know it's going to be a beautiful facility."
Oh man! So, she said you're messing with fire, huh? If you don't put it there, you can put it in my place.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be an interesting debate because what was the timeline? Do you know when they wanted to break ground?
I don't know, but the land has already been purchased.
Oh, really?
They already got people on the waiting list.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
And the whole thing about these people who were showing up last night, some of them don't even live here, but they're with the 1776 project.
And you mentioned that. What is that?
And they're like, you're messing up our community. We built this United States. We built this town.
Okay. What is the 17... What did you say that the project was?
1776.
And who are they?
They're Trump supporters. They come into the school board meetings hollering about the mask mandates and stuff like that. And it's really, sometimes when I leave, they're outside by my car, and I'm kind of like, okay, let me get in my car. Don't look at them, because if they hit me, I'm going to hit them with my cane.
Yeah.
I'll hit you back.
So they've been showing up at your school board meetings too?
All packed out, yes, sir.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. My goodness.
And I'm like the only one. Well, there's one other girl now wearing a mask, but they thought I was the only one up there wearing a mask. So.
Oh, wow. So when is your school board election?
When are the elections?
Yes.
When are the elections? Are they in November?
Normally, that's when school board elections are. Is this year? How many seats are up?
2022, yeah.
How many seats are up?
3.
There are going to be 3 seats?
We got 1 seat where our one of our board members, she resigned.
Recently?
So on March 1st, we'll probably be looking to see who applied and, then take it to the board and see whether we want them or not on our board, see who we want to put there. But I've been posting on Facebook, that this is actually happening, because I know a lot of people are not looking at the newspaper. I don't even know if it's in the newspaper, or they're not going to even go to the school board site, Hampton Joint Union High School District site. They're not even going to go there to see this. So you got to put it out there. You got to put it out there. You can't just think people are just going to go to your site and I want to go see what's looking at this site. No, you need to go ahead and do it. And they've already looked at my site. They already looked at my Facebook page.
Oh, really?
I posted it.
So, do you anticipate any of those folk from the 1776 committee looking to run for the board?
I hope not.
So that means that you anticipate them running.
They may.
Boy,
They
wow.
may. And see, all the school board, the only thing that we are going to be looking at is a person who's going to be replacing her.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones are going to be voted in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I tell my people, come on, you guys, this is not rocket. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to run for office. Just live in a district and have a heart.
Mm-hmm. What say you, Mr. Cato? You think about that 1776 committee? Do you? Because man, I didn't know they were showing up at her meeting.
I mean, that's like the Proud Boys. You can't get away from saying that that's not a racist group when you talk to the members,
Yeah.
or let alone the leaders. But when you talk to the members, you'll see that you're really talking to the KKK. I mean, I don't care how if you dress them up as I was going to say, if you dress them up, put on a suit and tie, shine their shoes, put a hat, and then put them on a stage and let them talk for it don't take but 60 seconds.
Okay.
Because the first word out their mouth wants to be starting with an N or M, and what Paula's said. We built this place.
That's what I was going to come to. That's
No.
the point there. Yeah. That's...
When you go back and you see the history of the United States of how it was really built.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got black folks that was there. You got Chinese folks that was really instrumental doing the hard labor for railroads and stuff.
Right.
That might be a good wish that we built this place. Where you get that from? Because you were sitting back just telling folks to build this place and you had the money. But you weren't going out just like
doing the labor.
Just like going out picking plums and apricots. I mean, whatever at a farm, you didn't have white folks out there doing that. Right. All that stuff was minorities, and so you can't claim that we built.
Well, there was a few. There was a few that came through the Oklahoma.
No,
Dust
you're
Bowl.
right, because they had no choice, and guess what? When they came, they was equal to black folks, because
they were treated as such.
You tell white folks, because look who they was living with. They was in the camps.
Okay.
So they were living in the camps also.
Right,
they had their own sections, and the Mexican had their sections. And you're absolutely right, Cato. I'm looking up Benjamin Banneker. Okay, Benjamin Banneker. There was a white man that was trying to design Washington, D.C., right? So he got upset, and he walked off with the plans. But Benjamin Banneker, who had a photographic memory, remembered what the plans looked like. Who finished the plans for Washington, D.C. and designed Washington, D.C.? A black man. Benjamin Banneker.
You've done your homework. Yeah, I see that. That's very, very interesting.
We got something coming up, but that anybody would be surprised as a black person designed that. I mean, there's so much stuff that you'd actually end up being naked. You'd end up not being able to drive a car.
Right.
I mean, because everything that you pretty much put your hands on. There was a black man there. Either he designed it, or he manufactured it, or he came back from somebody else, white man,
And perfected.
and improved it to what you have today.
Yes.
That's crazy. Well, you'd be in the dark. The refrigerator. If it wasn't for a black man, you wouldn't have a refrigerator. Don't get me started, y'all. You wouldn't have a refrigerator.
Just like Garrett Morgan. Garrett Morgan, he invented a gas mask, okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want to use it until there was a big fire. I'm not sure what city this was. It was a big fire. And the firemen could not go into that building because of all the toxins and stuff. They went down there and got Benjamin Banneker's mask. And that's how they did it. That's how they got, not Benjamin Banneker, but Garrett Morgan. They got his mask. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they were able to use his mask. But they didn't want to use it at first. But like you said, we improved on a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff that we couldn't do, we didn't improve on. Our masters came and they took the patent. And the first one who, I don't care who invented. Mel, if you invent something right now, and I take that patent and I go to the patent office and I put it in there under my name, guess who patented that? It's mine. It's my invention. My name is going to be on there.
Right, right.
And that's what they did. They did a lot of stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, that's part of our history, and that's a part that a lot of people don't want to talk about because it makes them very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But you were going to say something else, Brother Cato, before we run out of time. You wanted to bring up something that we...
Oh, two quick things. Hold on. Let me pray real quick. Me and you talked about something that I saw, and I don't know if you was going to go by and check. I came out of, I'm going to say it, the 99-cent store. No, I was going in first.
Oh, the second guy. Yeah.
I hear, hey, help the homeless. And I didn't think anything of it. It hit me, but I didn't think anything. So let me go inside, do my business until I come out. And that's when I left, and I called you, and I said, and we talked about it. You said, well, I might go by there. I didn't check back with you to see if you did.
No, I did not.
Well, I was there probably what's the day? Thursday. It probably was Sunday.
Uh-huh.
And lo and behold,
guy was there?
No, this is a different guy. Lo and behold, hey, help the homeless. President, help the homeless. Oh, I didn't go inside. I walked over to him and I said, hey, so what's this about? Yeah, we want to help the homeless. Oh, really? How you guys going to do that? See, he really didn't want to talk to me when I said, how you really want to do that when Fresno has about 3 million that is dedicated to the homeless? And so they don't really need any more money. So what are you doing out here checking, getting signatures? So what it was, they're trying to get an initiative for the online gaming. The online gaming
that's promised. Yeah,
right. So
percentage.
So what they doing is saying down there's about 5 organizations that can get money. That the online gaming is actually the top tier, and then what the money they make, it gets filtered down to the Fresno homeless and so on. I think there was like 5 other things,
kind of like the lottery.
But he wasn't bright enough to articulate what the what that petition was about. So he had it there. So when he found out that he couldn't, out-talk me to tell me what this homeless stuff was, he gave it to me, and I'm sitting there reading it all, and he's steadily talking. Oh yeah, for the online gaming. Well, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about just straight up homeless, like whatever when they sign, that's for the homeless. No, you're up here having people sign for the online gaming. And that they're homeless, whatever in Fresno is guaranteed like a penny off of whatever a dollar that they raise.
Okay.
So they're not making any. It's not for the homeless because that little bit really, and Fresno don't need that. Mm-hmm. But doesn't that sound good for help the homeless?
Well, yeah, traditionally that's how they do it though. They tell you that to get your attention,
right, to draw you
but
in.
It's really about something else, and it's connecting somewhere. They have to have some factual basis for saying that.
Yeah, it was there, but it amounts to nothing.
Right.
The whole thing is their online gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Help the homeless. Wait a minute, now the homeless is is down there in this packet to where they might get 10 cents, but that's not helping the homeless.
Do you remember when they promoted the lottery, saying it was going to help the schools?
That was the top thing they were talking about.
That's what they drilled down on. But do you know what happened when they got it approved? Suddenly, the money that was going to the schools got diverted, and they said, "Well, we're just going to send you all of the lottery money." Well, if you're going to take something away, you're not really helping me, and that's what they did. They took away the general fund money, most of the general fund money, and replaced it with the lottery money. So there really was no advantage to, that was just a ploy to get that lottery passed. And that's what you're saying here about how they're working.
I'm telling you, it was so funny. I'm sitting there when I asked him. He was scared. He couldn't even tell me what he was having people sign for because he knew I got him. So I was messing with him, and he'd say something, and I'd cut him off, and I'd tell him, "No, that's not correct." Because when I had the facts and I'm throwing it at him, he was so off guard because only thing he was really felt to say was, help the homeless. He didn't know how he didn't know how he was helping the homeless, and really. He didn't really need to because if he said help the homeless, if somebody thought about it, they just walked over there and signed it, and that was it.
Right. That's what most people do.
This right quick. I seen a commercial for for the teachers. Donate. It goes donate something. They ran this thing so many times, but you have a teacher in mind, or you can put the school. And whatever amount that you're going to send to them, you send it to them. They like you want pencils and pads or whatever. Then it goes to that teacher. Supposedly it goes to that teacher, and then you have to. Then they tell you here's a student, here's a teacher to prove that they sent the money. But here's the catch: they're saying that mess $1.5 million because they figure. Each teacher is spending $500 of their own personal money each year. Mm-hmm. Now that got me, and then you want to raise the taxes for teachers, right? Because the schools need more money. So the teachers is spending $500. That word, I thought you had enough money to cover the teachers. Why are the teachers spending $500 now? That was the catch. That was the one that got me. I was just waiting. I can't wait to tell Mel. Man, come on.
They have a budget, and yet you're going to ask.
Right, and yet you don't have any money.
Supplement your budget. But the trick is nobody ever looks at the carryover money from those categorical dollars.
How you going to have carryover money when the teachers are spending $500?
Well, because teachers are not very aggressive and not very and their unions are very aggressive, except when they want to raise. That's all.
Well, I tell you, I don't know if that word be aggressive. They just plain on stupid. Because I'm supposed to get this. I said it, Paula. I sure did. And we're about out the time. But yeah, when you tell me that I got $20 billion for the California, and then the teacher so-called got to come out of their pocket for $500. What did that $20 billion do?
Yeah.
You don't need no. I wish you would come to me and ask me for some more money. That's me.
What they're doing is they're sending these teachers on these retreats and all these trainings and stuff like that.
Oh no, they're not. No, they're not, Paula.
They're doing a lot with the money.
No, they're not. No, they're not, Paula. Come on now. You know that would never be done.
Well, we're out of time, folks, and we hope you enjoyed the conversation we had today. We appreciate what Paula was sharing. That information about South Valley.
Come on down to Hanford. Yes.
That's a great idea. That's really good.
We'd love to have you. You will be, and you could also. It'll put you in the mind to start your family history if you haven't started already.
Well, until next time, folks, this is Mel Sanders along with Cato and Paula Massey saying good night and thank you for joining us.
Bye. Love you. Bye-bye.